loneliness. Yay! Ew, gross. Merriam-Webster's dictionary, one of the many definitions of loneliness, is a state of dejection or grief caused by the condition of being alone. And according to Health and Human Services for the USA, 61% of business owners and leaders report being lonely. Loneliness has very serious effects on our health. This can lower our immune system, cause a chronic stress on our heart and our cardiovascular system. It opens us up to other forms of disease, such as cognitive decline, right? So loneliness sucks. It's a very, very powerful issue that affects us as business owners and leaders, especially as women. And I think, well, we're going to be talking about, not I think, I've experienced firsthand that as a woman, loneliness hits different. I serve men as well as women in the work that I do, and so does Nettie. And we've seen that what loneliness can do to us as women leaders. And so this episode is dedicated to the women in your life, whoever you are, wherever they are. Is that right, Nettie?
Yeah, and I want to make a comment that loneliness is epidemic in men and women, and men are definitely experiencing many of the negative effects that Victoria just shared. But today we really want to focus on loneliness in women leaders and how that is different. It takes a different form. There's different factors that are involved. And for the men who are listening, we love you, and there are resources available for our men who have lost their community and who need the support that would help them improve their lives and not experience loneliness. So lots of resources out there. Google them. Today we're talking about loneliness in women leaders. Thank you for that opening. It really is quite terrible for your health and your mental well-being and your organization and your business. So why we're talking about loneliness here is because no woman is going to get out unscathed. I mean, 61% is just the in that moment, but I think it's the reality that every woman leader is going to experience loneliness at some stage and for some duration in that role.
100%. And so with that, welcome to the Wake Up Women Leaders podcast. This is episode 12. Nettie,
Yeah.
who are you? Tell us.
Today.
Today.
I'm a connected woman. I don't feel lonely today because I have this connection. And actually, my hope is that you connecting with this podcast is a way to help mitigate some of that loneliness that you might be feeling right now as a leader, as a woman leader. I'm Nettie Owens. My company is the Safari Group. In this work, I do executive coaching, leadership training, accountability, and strategic planning. And I've been doing this for decades. So I have experienced my share of loneliness. It's intense and it is not helpful for you reaching your goals. So that is why we want to address it head on and give you some tools and resources today that can help. How about you, Victoria?
I love it. Well, Sensei Victoria Whitfield. Sensei means teacher in Japanese, which comes from my training in Reiki, energy therapy. I'm also a high performance coach. Been at this for a decade and a half, so I can't say it's been multiple decades yet, like you, but coming up on it soon. Yeah. And it's my joy to bring in holistic stress management techniques to help driven, heart-centered leaders ground and clear their energy so that they can increase their income and impact. You can find me at strategicmeditation.com. And this topic of loneliness is for what drops in for me is how being in business or being in as an owner puts you into a different category, or has put me, I've experienced, into a different category than the average person, uh,
Mhm.
because I'm showing up to serve people. Every business is a relationship business. So it's a bit of a conundrum, a bit of a cognitive dissonance when you are serving, supporting, helping, connecting, speaking to people all the time, and then experiencing, as Merriam-Webster's would say, a state of dejection or grief by the condition of being alone. It is literally an illusion, loneliness. But the illusion is very strong. It is immersive. You feel it in your bones after the end of the day. Supporting, giving, pouring into others, not only in your business, but also in your family and private life as well. That at the end of the day, even if you're laying down next to someone, that there is this feeling that sinks into your bones of, oh, I'm apart. I'm
Mhm.
other. I'm alone. And that feeling in the bones is not a good feeling. It is not a feeling of health
Mhm.
that's radiating through your skeletal system and from your stomach out up the spine and w- pulling down your shoulders and um, pulling all the light out of your eyes. And especially the longer that you work in business, the deeper that can start to sink. I know for me, when I uh, used to work for others a hundred
Mhm.
thousand years ago, you had friend groups and peer interactions built into the workplace. Uh,
Mhm.
the feeling of being included. We're all in this together. We're all part of something together was built into that type of an identity. But when I stepped from being an employee into an employer, or stepped out of employee into being owner, that feeling of we are peers and we are all in this together shifted. What about you, Nettie? Is this something that you've seen?
Absolutely, and it's not just, it certainly shows up as you climb the ladder, right? Even if your climb on the ladder is you stepping into a role as a business owner, you may or may not have, employees or contractors that you are, leading. But at the same time, once you step into that role as a business owner, you are a leader. Like you may not be putting that title on your business card, but it sticks. You're leading your clients, your customer base, and it's not the only place where you might be experiencing leadership. It could be in your family situation. If you're a parent, you're a leader. Right? You may be a caregiver. You're a leader, and so the need to project a level of certainty, to exude safety for the people that you are leading, then sets you apart because now you've created a situation, um, or that role for you is creating a situation where you are not just part of the whole group, you are, I was going to say in charge, but that's not even quite right. But it's your responsibility to care for that group. You talked about serving, as a business owner, and so the more you step into this role, and certainly the more people that you are leading, it really starts to create that gap. If you do not have if you have not searched out and found a peer group, of other similarly stationed leaders that you can connect with that understand the experience that you are living through. um, and you're right, your friendships will change. You may be the case that in order to find friendship, you have to invest, and you and I have both experienced this, invest in peer groups in order to find friendships and people experiencing a similar environment that you're experiencing. And that's going to be different from any other part in your life. You didn't pay to be in a friend group in your elementary school or high school or college. Well, maybe if you joined a sorority or a fraternity. But for the most part, we're not paying to be in a friend group. But in this particular case, that might be what you perceive as the only option to find friends and peers in the same situation as you.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I did pay to be in a friend group in college. I had to pay for college.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my family, I had to take out student loans, work, get
Mm-hmm.
scholarships, and yada yada. And so I went to Rutgers, and the identity of that big R, right? The being a Rutgers girl, or being part of the New Brunswick
Mm-hmm.
campus, that gave me an identity to relate and have peers with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that I then carry. So that was a pile of money. It's
Mm-hmm.
nothing compared to what it is now. So it's interesting to think of it. Well, actually, yeah, I did pay for that, and that still does give me the ability to relate with people who are thinking on the level that I'm thinking. This is another, so for those of you who haven't gone into business yet, so you could just kind of understand what this type of loneliness could be. It's all right, having that sense of belonging, of, oh, I'm out of college now. And or when I meet another person who went to the same alma mater, you have like that vibe of, oh, like, do you remember when the being around other people who share the experiences, the thoughts, the feelings, the challenges, the desires that you do in a certain within a certain identity, being without those people is that gap where loneliness can start to creep in. And that was an intentional decision to I am going to college, or
Mm-hmm.
I am going to participate in alumni um, gatherings and things like that. Similarly, at this stage of business ownership, where we're talking here,
Mm-hmm.
or being heads of organizations, it's an intentional thing to decide, I want to seek out others who share my experience. I don't like saying who are on my level. That feels egoic. And it's rather than looking at like people who are beneath me or above me or some crap like that. Instead, no, I want to seek out people who have to think about paying other people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to seek out other people who have to have the skill of marketing and selling and advertising and bookkeeping and like doing taxes for organizations in like on top of oneself, who manages the front of house, like the client
Mm-hmm.
facing relationships, as well as back of house with vendors, team members, platforms, and yada yada. It's not people on my level, it's people who share these challenges. And without that extra bit of intentional investment of, I need to go seek these out, that really opens up the tremendous like chasm of loneliness. Because I've found that if I don't actively seek that out, I could go days, weeks, months, years without coming across another person who's cut from the same cloth, who has the same like you could go for a long time and that'll eat away at you.
Two things are really standing out for me in what you're sharing. One is that belonging is the antithesis of loneliness. So, and belonging is a huge factor in well-being and longevity. So, having that sense of being a part of something is and a related group. And I think you can find that sense of belonging in your organization as a leader. But what we're also talking about here is finding people who have an equal responsibility level. And it's not as though, as Victoria said, the people with a different responsibility level are beneath or above you, but they have different responsibilities. And so you're really looking for people who can relate to the fact that, you have to be aware of getting sued for the people who work for you or by your customers, and how do you navigate that, or making decisions about bankruptcy or investment, and other folks in your organization, even if you feel like you belong in that group, don't necessarily have that same responsibility level, and other very difficult leadership minded decisions that at the end of the day, you are the person who ultimately makes that choice. And so if that's you, who, like, the buck stops with you for these major decisions, then you are much more susceptible to loneliness. And in our discussion here about women, I really want to bring in about loneliness in women leaders. I want to bring in something I feel like is unique to the female experience, and that is, we just don't have as many role models. We just don't have as many mentors. It's just so much less likely for us to be able to look ahead and say, oh, I'm going to do it how Victoria did it because I see that she, achieved the level of leadership that I'm looking to achieve, and I can model after how she navigated through that. Or we can come alongside and we can work together and share ideas on, well, this is how I'm navigating. And you can say, okay, great, this is how I'm navigating it. And we share those ideas and resources, because the number of women, while rising in leadership, it is significantly less still than our male counterparts. And so, there are other identity groups that I'm not calling out here. And that's important. Like, you may be able to translate this and say, okay, in my identity group, as a particular ethnic group, or as a trans person, there are few leaders that I can look to. So you are in this same mix, that when you don't have that ability to model how you're leading after a peer group or a mentor group, you're paving the way. You're carrying not just the weight of you figuring it out, but also all of these other folks who now you've just become the mentor to. It's an enormous amount of pressure, and it can cause a person, and I felt this myself, to feel like, I can't fail. I can't make mistakes. I have to get this right. There's so much pressure, and what if I don't? And what if somebody's looking to me? What if it puts my company at risk? And to be able to talk about, even just to lay out all of those concerns and problems and be heard, is an important level of support that is necessary. This is not a negotiable. This is not a nice to have. This isn't when I reach a certain level. It is a necessity, because of these risks that we've just talked about, for holding on to that loneliness and not identifying with a group and not sharing the experience and not being heard. It can truly affect your own well-being, and can affect the organization that you're leading in massive ways, none of them positive, just to be clear here. And so it's really important to be considering that, and seek out, where do I find my peer group? Where do I find my mentor group? Where do I get that support? It may be a therapist, it may be a coach, it could be a mastermind, These are some like words to Google when you're looking for the kinds of people who share that level of responsibility. And I want to pass it over to you, Victoria, and then I want to come back around to talk about maybe mistakes that we can make when we're seeking that support out.
Yeah. So especially around, so yes, shout out to therapy, but especially around our identity as leaders and respecting that that although we are set apart, um, and there's the challenge of that, we also need to respect that that set apartness is actually sacred. And
Mm-hmm.
so taking these with love, mental health issues like this, when dealing with my loneliness or the issues that are coming up with me and being able to run the team, right? Or God, marketing again, right? Or getting out and having the courage to sell and stuff like that. What's inappropriate is to start a live stream on TikTok and shout at the world about how awful this is and how I'm such a victim, and look at my face. I'm crying about how lonely I am into a camera. Stop it. Number 1. Number 2, like this also, you don't take that out on your clients and the people who subscribe to you, typing up about how much pain you are in, etc. You're there, you're supposed to be one helping them, but you need to help them in your health. You don't help them in your pain. One of my mentors, Julie Stoyan, says like I share my scars, I don't share my wounds, right? When I'm giving examples of things to work on or to go through, or giving advice for how to rise up. So don't dump it into the people that you're serving. Also, don't take it out on your team. Respect the gap in that they're there to like, we just want to know what to do. We're here to collect a paycheck, or we're here to move things forward for you. Don't take it out on your partner. This, you need a third space outside of home and work, home being like social media also, and work also being social media, the public and the private sides of our digital lives. Now we need a third space for processing this, and I just want to super duper underline therapy,
Mm-hmm.
or joining interest groups of peers who share your level of leadership, or who share your level of responsibility, or who can understand what you're up to, because they're doing it too on a
Mm-hmm.
regular basis. Because when you care for your energy, um in that third space, you then, in the home and the professional, right, work and home spaces, you can show up with that much more energy to give. Like one of the hugest mistakes is that instead of asking for help, women leaders only see themselves as givers and don't even think of that third space. Don't even, I'm a caregiver. I caregive my clients and I caregive my family. Nobody caregives me. There's the I'm the giver. I give advice. I give advice. I coach people. I don't get coached. I massage people. I don't get massaged. I make stuff and I sell it to people. I don't buy things. Like, it's like only exhaling and forgetting to inhale. We need the third space.
Mm. So it is critical. Like Victoria just super underlined the need for this space. It's absolutely critical, non-negotiable. Make it a line item, make it a business expense. Make sure that you are getting the support, therapy, coaching, masterminds, peer groups. These are wonderful places, professional associations. These are wonderful places to look for the kind of support that we're talking to you about to help you navigate and continue to have that sense of belonging and be able to solve problems. Your team, which Victoria mentioned, it's not even that you just don't dump on them. They require a sense of safety in order to do the work. And so if you are bringing uncertainty, you are making it very difficult for them to do their job. And that's true in your family, and that's true in social media as well. Like, we do not need to be adding that uncertainty into the world, and you deserve to be healthy and to show up in a healthy way. And so as you go to reach out to get this support, I want to encourage you to make sure that you're looking for appropriate support, right? Whether that's trained coaches, whether that's ICF certified coaches, or that these are real therapists that are trained to support you. Look for therapists that have a leadership or an entrepreneurship focus, so they understand the goals that you're setting and the stressors that you might be experiencing. Look for those professional groups that talk about your level of group. This is not the place to skimp, right, on the kind of support that you need, because it really does make a difference. And I'm not saying you're guaranteed to get a good result if you pay a lot of money for it, but I want you to do your homework and research and check, ask around, make sure that you are aligned. I had the experience while in therapy of a therapist who was not aligned with the work that I was doing, the level of leadership that I was bringing. And you need to be in that third space, not of a person who says, "Oh, that's hard, back down." Woman, we know we can do hard things. We know we can do hard things, and we want you out there solving the world's problems. This is not a call to back down from that. But in order to do so, you need a level of support. And my experience, which I now look for in the people that I'm working with, but when it got hard, my therapist recommended that I just focus on being a wife. Like, step back from the challenge of my work and my business and my profession, which in my view is my mission, God appointed. And so I did not feel like it was appropriate to step back from. I don't want to, back away from the challenges and my leadership in my relationship or in my family life and in the community that I step forward into. So you need somebody who gets that. Look for people who really do have a focus on leadership when you're looking for that support. It's very, very important. I don't fault that therapist. They just weren't aligned with the kind of challenges that I was bringing to our discussion. Do you have any recommendations on, like, how to find that great third space support that we've been talking about, Victoria?
Yeah, Goldilocks. Go taste test some spaces. I felt when I went out and, like, let me try this workshop or this weekend event, or let me go visit this group or this association, right, or this chamber of commerce, right, or let me see about this chapter of BNI versus that chapter, right. So I started tasting to see, like, this one's too hot, this one's too cold, this one's just right. And when you were saying that about that therapist that was not right, immediately I got a download. I was like, yeah, she did not have a womb big enough to carry you to term. Her womb wasn't big enough. She couldn't do it. Whereas I remember when a girlfriend of mine in business, invited me to go to an experience of Mama Gina out in New York City. I'm like, whoa, this womb is, more than just right. I mean, I could do cartwheels up in here. Yeah, like, to carry me to another level of myself. And it also, be kind to yourself. You may grow over time. You may be with a therapist or a practitioner right? If you're working with, someone who's doing your energy work or who's coaching with you, right? You're with a practitioner and they started with you from 0, but now you're at 10 and you want to go to 50 and they can take you to 10, but they can't, like their specialty is 0 to 10. You need to go and accept the fact that it's time for you to part ways so that you can find the person who specializes at 9, 10, 11 and take to 50 and beyond. Like giving yourself permission to expand and continue to ascend in your own personal development is powerful. And lastly, I would also say get your reps in. Get your reps in on asking people out. Hey,
Mhm.
can you want to be accountability partners? Right? Or hey, do you want to go for a coffee? Or oh, I saw that you have a business too. Like I'd love to hear more about you and not just about what you do, but also what's it like for you? Because there's also when you ask people out and they think like, well, I do this, this, and this, and here's my business card, and you can buy it for like fast action bonus today only. They go into sales mode, and some people forget to um build friendship and relationship without selling and closing another person. We may need to talk about that in the future.
It sounds a little bit like our pitch fest conversation, but
Yeah.
this is taking it to the one-on-one level. So, next week, when we get back on here again, we're going to talk about who's in the room. We've kind of been, if you've noticed the cadence, we're talking about leadership and we're also talking about events because these are just really important spaces for you as a female leader to be comfortable in. And so next week we're really going to be talking about your audience. And that's going to be applicable to whether you're doing events or whether you're serving an audience as an entrepreneur or whether you're serving an audience as the CEO. So come back next week and check that out. But before we do that, let's wrap up a little bit here. This week, we've talked about the third space a lot. Um, there's an invitation for you in this. Victoria and I both support that third space in the work that we do. So if you're listening and you're thinking, yeah, I'm doing this alone. Like I don't have a place to talk about what I'm experiencing. Reach out. We're happy to have a conversation. Type the word connect. We'll check out, that message in DMs and continue the conversation. And you don't have to be alone in this journey. Whether we can support you or we can guide you to support, it's such a critical issue. We're happy to serve you in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that way you have a third space with people who like, and trust. Whether you're looking for getting organized and staying organized, being able to scale and serve at larger levels, Nettie's amazing at organization and scaling. You're fabulous at it, as well as keeping you accountable to doing what you said you wanted to do. Highly recommend going to Nettie uh, for that, right? And for yours truly, if it's more of your inner game as well as connecting to your vision, your identity, or feeling worthy of the work that you're called to, absolutely, that's my specialty. And then Nettie and I both combine forces, choo choo choo, yeah, to help you feel confident inside and out, operationally as well as spiritually, to take things to the next level. Comment, connect below, and we will find you in a LinkedIn DM. We will reach out for that. So, yay.
Awesome. Yeah. We're happy to come alongside and basically give you a big hug of
Yeah.
support. Yeah.
Yay.
Well, we'll see you next week, 3:30 live right here. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.